Forbes Books presents Sustainable Leadership and Disruptive Growth with David Radlow. Transformation for a new and better world. Here's David.
This week, I have the pleasure of speaking with John Bello. John has had a remarkable career that began with a Navy ROTC scholarship and a tour of duty with the Vietnam War. He worked with the likes of General Foods, Pepsi, and the NFL before founding the beverage company SoBe, which he subsequently sold to Pepsi for approximately $400 million. He's an active investor and philanthropist, especially at Tufts, his alma mater. John, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, David, thanks for having me. Whenever I'm with you, I feel good. I'm ready to go. So let's rock and roll.
John, if someone were to ask you why John Bello has been so successful, what would you say?
Big picture, my career has been really focused on luck and the important role that luck plays in everybody's life. But in order to experience luck, you have to be prepared, you have to be out there, and you have to be willing to do the work. And I think that pretty much characterizes the opportunities I've had.
Let's go way back to the Vietnam War. Tell me about your time there and how you got the nickname Merchant of Mekong Delta.
I went to school on a Navy scholarship. I couldn't have afforded Tufts any other way. Because my eyesight was poor, I was offered the Marine Corps or the Supply Corps. Took the Supply Corps, thinking that would insulate me from Vietnam. 3 months later, I was in Vietnam. They gave me an M16 and a flak jacket. I said, hey, man, I'm in the rear with the gear. I'm a supply officer. But having said that, they assigned me to a riverine force where we supported PBRs, the kind of boat you saw in Apocalypse Now. And as a part of that support function, we had a little ship store that basically provided sundries to the crew of the boats and the crew of the mobile base that I was on. But a big part of going to Vietnam for a lot of the military men that went there was getting camera gear, getting stereo gear, and other things that you could get in the Far East. Our store was put on merchandise hold because we hadn't paid bills. I got aggressive with the ComNav 4V, the head of which was Admiral Zumwalt, said, hey, man, we need to be able to bring some of this stuff in. And they opened it up for us, and we proceeded to bring in tape recorders, Sansuis, watches, Pentax cameras, whatever the crew wanted. And sooner or later, we had generals flying into the mobile base with helicopters shopping at Mobase too. So that was a fun deal. We did $4 or $5 million in sales out of a 10 by 10 space, selling tapes. And at the time, and Gata Vida and the Creedence were big. And it was really a welfare and recreation bonanza for not only the crew, but making available stuff people could take home. And at least it was a positive aspect, so it kept morale very high. And the money that we earned went into parties and other things that we could have just to keep the troops in our. We didn't have troops, we had sailors, but worked out really well. And I had really fun doing it. It wasn't my only function. I had to order up bullets and machine parts for the PBRs. But based on the experience I had there, they assigned me to run the Navy Exchange at Moffett Field, California, which was a $14 million a year complex that did everything from barbershop to retail sales to liquor sales to the officers club, the enlisted man's club. We even had a nursery. So I got a broad-based experience at 25 in business, and it excited me, and I learned a lot. I learned a lot from the standpoint of you can't do it all yourself. You really need to have a great team.
Let's talk about your stint as Vice President of Marketing and then President of NFL Properties and how you incubated and accelerated NFL Properties into the powerhouse and machine that it is today and how it propelled the rest of your career.
Getting to the NFL was a lifelong objective of mine. After my Navy career, I attended the Amos Tuck School at Dartmouth College to get my MBA. Most of my classmates were focused on consulting and investment banking, but I wanted to go into marketing. Mostly I wanted to go into marketing for the Washington Redskins. I wrote them a letter saying, hey, I'm an MBA. I want to come in and work for you. And they wrote back, said, you need not apply. You're one of 500 people we get a month trying to come to work here. That being said, I took my MBA degree and went to General Foods, and then Pepsi after that. While at General Foods, I did a promotion with the NFL behind my brand, which was Sanka Coffee. I got exposed to the people at NFL Properties, which is the commercial and licensing arm of the NFL, and we did a great event from a client side using the NFL to help drive sales and attention to its product. After leaving Maxwell House and Sanka, which was the Maxwell House division, I went off to Pepsi and was working with a headhunter there to fill some slots working with me. Called me one day and said, "Hey, we have an opportunity for you to be the VP of marketing at the NFL." And I said, "That NFL Properties?" And he said, "Yeah." So I said, "Yeah, I'll do that. I have to go ask my wife because I was such a great, big football fan. I still am. And that was one of the keys to my success. Virtually everywhere, I liked what I did. So you really get invested from a passion point of view in your brand and your properties and your understanding of what it was you're going to sell. So I visited the NFL in 1979, and what I found was a woefully under-marketed property in the NFL. Everybody knew about it, had a lot of TV exposure, but the league, in terms of its marketing and merchandising, really was backward. And I just saw it as a huge opportunity because I understood what fans like myself wanted. Took the job, and there's a little anecdote about the first couple weeks I was there as VP of marketing. I was sitting in a room with a bunch of lawyers who were chasing down infringers, and infringers were people that were making T-shirts and hats without our permission and not paying us royalties. And they spent more time chasing these people down. And I looked at them and said, "I really don't want to do this. I want to just go out and make some money, but really provide the kinds of things that fans would like and not have infringers pop up." And all that really means, if you have an infringer, is that you got something that isn't being taken advantage of. And the league at that point really was hidebound, focused on the game, which was the base product. But what we did at NFL Properties was really explode the concept of merchandising and putting the fan in the game. Our mission at the NFL, and as I took over the leadership role, I made sure everybody was clear that our job was to promote, enhance the game, and put the game closer to the fans. And everything that we did at NFL Properties from 1979 to 1993, when I left, by the way, the revenue level at Properties when I first got there, and it's kind of shocking, was only $6 million. And most of that money came from punt, pass, and kick. And I like to joke it was flame retardant T-shirts and pajamas that you could buy for little kids at Sears. My whole view of merchandising was you got to put fans in the stands, you got to put clothes on fans in the stands that they can relate to. And the business exploded when we did a deal with Starter Sports, where I just got just did an interview with Sports Illustrated on Starter on creating sideline apparel and making team merchandise and NFL apparel available to adults and not just focused on kids. And that included everything from helmets that fans wanted to put on their desks to the actual game balls that were being used, but also creating a line of merchandise, quality merchandise that the players and coaches would be wearing, including the jerseys that the teams would wear. Because I thought, based when I was in high school and even at Tufts, I just wanted something stolen from the locker room. You wanted the real deal. You wanted authentics. And we created a thing called NFL Pro Line, which really offered up products that fans could see on TV one week, and next week they could be wearing the same kinds of things. And that exploded the business. So it really evolved that way. In addition to, we did a number of very broad-based promotions. One of the things I ran into early on, and this gets into the whole disruptive thing, the lawyers basically ran the merchandising company, and we were viewed by the ownership as just being a trademark protection kind of business. We convinced the owners to pool all of their trademarks into a trust, and the trust would hire NFL Properties to go out and merchandise all of the trademarks equally, so everybody could get a jacket, whether they were a Bengals fan or a Dallas Cowboys fan, or in my case, a Washington Redskin fan. I spent all my time down in Washington hanging out with Joe Gibbs, but I loved it. And everybody I hired loved it. And the key to our success there was we really migrated NFL Properties, which was a wholly owned company owned by the 28 teams at the time. It's 32 now. They loved the game. We migrated into a professional marketing organization. I hired people from Procter and from General Foods and from General Mills and Colgate who understood what clients and consumers would want. I think the net of where we went with the NFL was, here was a woefully undermarketed, very valuable property that we actually gave life to by exposing it in ways that consumers could relate to and they could actually participate in, and basically told the lawyers, who I call the sales prevention department, to go sit on the sideline. We did things they said no to the prior administration. We just did, and it really became standard operating procedure for all the leagues. So we really, I think, created the template for how pro sports were marketed, from merchandising, and now you see at the NFL a lot of the things that, frankly, I got pushback on when I first did it, because it was different. And in marketing, you never ask the consumers what they want. You just basically have to understand what they want. In my case, I understood it because I was a fan, and then make it available and work very hard at taking it from production to development into the marketplace through distribution, and then promote it. And we were very successful at that. Over the course of the 14 or 15 years I was there, the business exploded, and our revenue jumped from $6 million to $300 million.
I mentioned the success you had with SoBe in the opening. Walk me through how that opportunity came along, John.
Well, this gets back to luck and opportunity. There's opportunity that exists everywhere. There's luck everywhere. You just have to be prepared, and you have to go and find it. You can't. It's not going to happen to you if you're just sitting back. The SoBe situation is, after my tour of the NFL, I had a very good run there. I found out over the course of my military, my GF and Pepsi careers, and even the NFL career, if you leave me alone, I can make money for people. But large organizations tend to put a stronger emphasis on career management, and people don't get ingrained in their work to the degree that they should to make it work well. And by the time I left the NFL, I was fairly high profile, probably too high profile for someone who didn't own a team and didn't own anything. I felt like I owned NFL properties. We had a change in commissioners. They decided to change the structure. It got to a point where my role there would be diminished over time. So I decided to leave and do what I saw 370 licensees doing, going out and creating a business, driving the business, working the business. And I was helping them do that. They were getting rich. I wasn't. I was living a good life. So when I left, I decided that, I was terminally unemployable. Well, you have to realize who you are and what drives you. So I looked at business opportunities, and having come from the beverage business at Pepsi and General Foods, I had friends that worked at Arizona. I was aware of what was going on with Sanka and Arizona Beverages, and in terms of lifestyle designer products in the beverage category, that I could do the same thing. Lo and behold, that's what happened. I decided that I could create a line of beverages which would be lifestyle based. I found a partner who was in the same situation I was. He was in the beer business for 26 years. I like to say we had 28 years of beverage experience between us. He had 26, I had 2, but I was the marketing guy, and I had the drive, and I think I had a lot of the connections to kind of make it work. And we developed a concept and spent a year developing a concept that would be a lifestyle-based product that would compete with Snapple in Arizona, because the beverage business is a designer business. If you could create something exciting, new, and different, there was a track that you could follow that didn't require you to either own a plant. You could do it through contract packers, and you could make it all work without you having to own anything other than the ideas. So we spent a year putting together a concept, and we picked South Beach, Florida as a thematic, recognizing that clearly Canadian and Arizona and Long Island iced tea all had thematics based on a geographical location. At the time, South Beach was very hot. It was called America's Riviera. It was young people on rollerblades, sexy, it was fun. So we pursued that. I had, obviously had some money and had some people who were willing to invest in me because I had been successful at the NFL. And that's an important aspect of anything that you do. You need to network and you need to work hard, which we did. And we spent a year putting together a plan, and we came out with a line of products called South Beach, which was, to a greater or lesser degree, wasn't that new. Some of the things about the product worked very well. We raised $2 million, but basically the first concept failed. Another aspect of being an entrepreneur is recognizing that you need a lot of experience, and good experience comes from bad experience and learning from it. And failure is just an object lesson. And not going over the cliff with an idea that isn't going to work. So you need to spend time talking to people, understanding the marketplace, seeing what's good about what you've done and what was not good. So after a year of trying to go to market with a product line called South Beach, we knew it wasn't going to be working, and I knew right away it wasn't going to be working. So we had to rework our plan, rework our concept, and I think that's the turning point of what really made the brand work. I took the lead from some young people that were working with me. My daughter actually, and we had a lizard on the bottle, which was reflective of the Art Deco motif of South Beach, Florida. What people liked about our brand early on was the bottle, the look, and the lizard. And my daughter said, "Hey, no, we might want to just." She had gone to Rhode Island School of Design. Said we should juxtapose the lizard and make this unique yin-yang look. And another young man that worked with me said, "Let's take the typeface from Braveheart and shorten it from South Beach to SoBe and just simplify the logo," which was from a packaging point of view, was it really a good look? And I was skiing once, and after skiing, I read a Shape magazine that said, "Hey, improve your sex life with these 3 herbs." And I said, well, maybe we'll take those herbs and we'll put them in the bottle and really enhance the product, which was really basic sugar water and sugar tea and sugar flavored beverages. And we enhanced it with things like ginseng, ginkgo, and guarana. Came out with a thing called SoBe with the twin lizards on it. We took it to a beverage trade show, and the only thing that was really capturing a lot of attention at the time were nutritionally enhanced beverages, of which ours was one. We were very small, had a little booth, and caffeinated water. And at the time, and this is the luck aspect, Snapple was undergoing a lot of change. It was sold to Quaker Oats. Quaker Oats decided to take the distribution away from these small independent distributors and bulk it with Gatorade at the time. And that alienated that whole distribution network, which was reluctant to take our brand before because they had Snapple or Arizona. When they saw it at this trade show, they said, "We really like this, and we don't like your other line." So we modified the other line to come up with a variety of value-added, nutritive, enhanced products, and one of which was energy, the other one was wisdom, the other one was power, and the SoBe black tea. We put a trailer load of SoBe black tea out in New Hampshire in the middle of winter. It blew through, and the guy was a Snapple distributor who had been impacted by the Quaker Oats decision, and told his entire Snapple network in the Northeast, "This is the hottest concept out there." And we modified our line, took it to market, went and raised some more money, wrote off that first $2 or $3 million that we put in, raised another $2 million to basically change our packaging, change the formulations, and it went on from there. We went from $2 million to $13 million to $69 million to $169 million to $300 million in 5 years because the product was exciting, new, and different, and really created what we'll call the nutraceutical category. Sometimes being the prime mover is not always the best. We did very well with it, and we sold it for a lot of money to Pepsi. But for a variety of reasons, Pepsi didn't put the kind of emphasis and focus on the brand and the kind of passion in the brand that my team had. A lot of my team went over and worked for Glassau, the vitamin water people, and the vitamin water thing was a knockoff of SoBe. They sold for $4.2 billion. We sold for $370 million. So sometimes being the prime mover isn't always the best idea, but pioneers usually don't get the credit they deserve.
I talked about one of your nicknames earlier, the Merchant of Mekong Delta. And this is where your second nickname comes in, the Lizard King?
Well, The Lizard King was kind of we had a lizard on the bottle, and we used a slogan, drain the lizard. And, a lot of people looked at me and crossed their eyes because, it was a double entendre, obviously, and said, don't do it. And the reason that we ended up with the lizard, it was the icon on the bottle. And when I say drain the lizard, I mean grab a lizard and drink it. Other people look at it a little differently, but that was the fun part of it. And it was fun. People laughed. And we got tons of calls and people wanting the T-shirts. And ultimately, I became the Lizard King. It's kind of like, in The Wizard of Oz. I was really the guy behind the curtain, not the real lizard. I was the Wizard King, not the Lizard King. And I really listen to the young people around me because in that business, they're the ones that really drive the ethos of the brand or a brand and really create excitement around it. And, I was a little older and a little bit, coming from a big corporate environment like General Foods and even the NFL. You had to be real careful about what you said and how you said it. It's even more the case today. I don't think that the whole mythology around SoBe these days would fly, which is unfortunate because people had a good time. It had that fourth dimension beyond the liquid, which was fun, and the product, which was fun, and the availability, which was fun. But it was a concept and how people could that fourth dimension really is a fourth element of the marketing mix that can really drive success.
John, what's your secret sauce? What do you believe is the difference between John Bello and others that are trying to incubate and accelerate successfully? And how could entrepreneurs learn from your experience?
Well, I referred to a few of those things in development here. You got to know thyself. It's a whole Shakespearean thing. And I made a lot of money for people. I could work in an organization until I can't. And I think it's all about performance and doing things. So I recognize in myself that, as I like to say in a tongue-in-cheek way, terminally unemployable. And it was easier to work for myself. I had a lot of faith in my ability to see a concept. And you've got to really focus because there's so many opportunities and concepts out there. You can jump at everything and get distracted. I can be laser focused. And you couple that with a willingness to take risks. And I have to tell you, I think that 98% of the people in America are unwilling to take risks and, they'll work hard and they'll do things. But it's that other 2 or 3%. And if you look at all these big players that have done things, they're out on the edge, taking a risk with their money, their time, their energy, their effort, their relationships. I've done that. But as you go along, and this is the process of building a reputation, if you have success, you've had integrity, you were able to deliver on what you said, you paid your bills, you conduct your business with ethics, you can win and you can build up a reservoir of resources in terms of people and material and that can help you be successful. There's a lot of money out in the marketplace looking for deals. That's what the whole venture capital business, the whole private equity business is. That there are people that have made money along the way and whatever they've done, and they put it into these funds trying to to build out their portfolio and their equity, and they're hiring these professionals. And I was one of these too, by the way. I was in the venture group for a while, and I'm doing my own venture work. But to go out and build that portfolio, and there's money available. And if you come to a venture capitalist or a private equity firm with a product that's proven, and there are a lot of proven products that don't make it, but you have a team behind it, and you have a management team behind it that is focused, and you've got to make the judgment about those people. And sometimes founders can't evolve into the best CEOs. I managed to do that because that was my training from the Navy on, just driving businesses and being involved at the grassroots level all the way up to the boardroom. And you take those risks, and there's money, and you're not always going to be successful, but you have to be able to pivot. And I think I just described how we pivoted at SoBe, which was South Beach at first. It didn't work. We sucked it up, wrote off the first iteration, took what was good from it, and packaged it at a time when we saw the luck out there. There was opportunity in the distribution network, and listened to people. That's, I think, another approach that I think can be very helpful. Don't think you know everything. You should talk to people, get a point of view. And it's not always family and friends, because typically they'll tell you things you want to hear, and they'll support you in round one and maybe in round two, but they've got the deep pockets then tend to disappear. So if you're looking to get beyond family, friend, and fools, you have to have a viable concept that has traction in the marketplace. And I'm talking about retail kinds of products. I've been involved in things that people wear, people drink, people eat. There are other concepts out there. There's just a plethora of things that are that are available now for people to get involved in. But you need to have focus, and you need to be very simple in your approach, and be willing to work and be able to bob and weave and make adjustments. Otherwise, you're going to fail.
All right, John, stand by for a moment. We're going to stop right here. In part one, we talked about John's career with big brands like Pepsi and the NFL and starting his own soft drink company. But coming up in part two, John talks about his love for Tufts University and how he's given back to the school.
After the success that we had with SoBe, we agreed to put in a turf field at Tufts because I thought it would be hugely beneficial to a number of the sports, including field hockey as well as lacrosse and other field sports. Put that in, and once it went in, we've had 9 national championships with lacrosse, field hockey, soccer, and other sports that are played on that field.
To connect with David, go to davidradlow.com. David's book, Principles of Cartel Disruption, Accelerate and Maximize Performance, is now available wherever books are sold. This has been Sustainable Leadership and Disruptive Growth with David Radlow, a presentation of Forbes Books.